Good evening. It is 6 o'clock, and we'll call our regular board meeting to order. First order of business is stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, before we get started, I would like to one more time welcome Dr. Schumacher and Dr. Stubblefield to the dais.
Thank you so much.
And we have also some new folks to the table. We have Pam Lewis and Dr. Higgins here with us. Welcome. All right, it's very exciting. Here we go. It's going to be done in 20 minutes. Okay.
That's ambitious.
I know. All right, well, welcome everyone. And let's begin with adopting the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve? All right, a second?
Second, Borkman.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We have 3 minutes from 3 different meetings, and I'd like to take a motion on all of those at once unless there are any changes. That'd be items 1.4, 5, and 6.
Approval, Borkman.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Garcia.
All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, we now move to our superintendent report. Dr. Schumacher.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All right. We'll let Shelley cue that up. And as Dr. Sinclair alluded to, we have some new people at the table, and I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Hello, everyone. I want to begin by saying how excited I am to officially begin serving as the superintendent of the Shawnee Mission School District. This time of year always brings a lot of new beginnings to our district. This, of course, is my first board meeting as superintendent. And like Dr. Sinclair mentioned, I also want to welcome some other district leaders to the board tables. Just to the left of me is Dr. David Stubblefield, me serving as our deputy superintendent. Welcome, David. Thank you. Good to see you. In the audience, Pam Lewis will be serving as our assistant superintendent of leadership and learning, and Dr. Jeremy Higgins is our associate superintendent of human resources. Great additions to our team. I've mentioned previously how important it is to have great people around you. I am so looking forward to working with them and everyone on the team so that we can do what is best for each one of our students. Thanks again. We invite our entire community to view an art exhibit created by our Shawnee Mission students and staff. This show features artwork created during the 4th quarter of last school year from students in pre-K through 12th grade. We will send a link to this digitally presented art show in the board recap that we email to all families and staff. I want to thank all of the students and teachers who contributed and give an extra shout out to Megan Ellis, Visual Arts Coordinator, and Lenexa Hills Elementary School art teacher for putting the show together for our entire community. Even though it's summer, a lot of our students and staff are engaged in learning experiences here in Shawnee Mission. Summer enrichment has been underway for the past few weeks, giving students the chance to explore a wide variety of interests and activities. They've explored everything from art and cooking to science, nature, and sports. The past couple of weeks, we've been excited to welcome our incoming kindergarten students. Get ready for this, the class of 2037. 2037. These kids have been participating in Jumpstart to Learning. This 3-week program helps students learn basics in literacy, numeracy, and the skills of being a student. Summer Academy for high school has been hard at work, along with summer music opportunities and camp invention. I want to acknowledge, too, that many of our educators have taken time this summer for learning through professional development. I thank everyone who's made these learning opportunities possible. We have some Skills USA honorees to celebrate this evening. Skills USA is a national workforce development organization that holds competitions for students that are judged by industry professionals. Faith Zhang, a recent Shawnee Mission West graduate, earned a silver medal in culinary. Peyton Frazier, a recent Shawnee Mission Northwest graduate, won silver in the cabinetry competition. The cabinet Peyton created was built within 8 hours and was entered in competition with honorees from 43 other states. Congratulations to these incredible competitors on these recognitions. I want to take a moment to remind our community that online verification is now open for all students attending Shawnee Mission schools in the 2024-2025 school year. We'll include links in the recap to help everyone get started on completing the necessary back-to-school forms. This is an important step, and the procedure is streamlined for your convenience. We'll include a link in the recap with details to help anyone through that process. This is one of the best weeks of the year. I think we all recognize that. We're welcoming our staff members back into our buildings. Our principals have been returning, and we look forward to holding our annual leadership retreat this week to get ready for this school year. Our administrative assistants return this week as well. Soon, we will be welcoming our new team members to New Team Member Academy, and our other educators will be returning as well. We're just getting started. But I know one thing, we are all in. That, of course, is our theme for the 24-25 school year. Our community truly inspired this idea because our students, their families, our educators, and the entire community are so dedicated to supporting student success. We'll be facing challenges head-on, working to ensure students and staff feel a sense of belonging and helping students achieve their personal best. And I know that through it all, we will be all in. And this concludes my superintendent report.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's move on to some board reports, item 2.2, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Garcia. Any update from SMAC PTA or the Shawnee Mission Education Foundation?
No update from SMEF, and I just wanted to quickly shout out the SMAC PTA School of Instruction will be happening at August 7th of this coming month. So they're gearing up for that. But looking forward to the school year. We have our meeting set for the school year coming up with SMAC PTA. So looking forward to joining them and having a good year and kicking everything off right. So that's all from me.
Great, all right. How about Ms. Borgman, anything from KASB or the Donation Foundation? Task Force?
Yep, Donation
Sorry.
Task Force will have something next meeting, I believe.
Okay,
And with regards to Board of Directors, KSB Board of Directors, Ms. Ousley, are we meeting together with I just got an email about it, August 24th, the KSB Board of Directors, Workers' Compensation Board of Trustees and Legislative Committee meetings will be meeting in Topeka. Maybe we could carpool. Yep. Okay. So we have a meeting on the 24th of August. Always looking forward to those meetings and more information to come post-meeting.
great, thank you. Okay, I'm not sure we have any other updates? Nope, okay. Policy Review Committee. I'm sorry, Bat.
Yeah, I just said I'm carpooling.
Yeah, right, okay. So, did Policy Review Committee meet? No, okay, all right, that's it then for our board reports, thank you. The board financial report, okay, so that's item 2.3. Dr.
Yeah,
Schumacher.
so I'm going to throw 2.03 through 2.06 to our CFO, Mr. Knapp. Mr. Knapp, the floor is yours.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Schumacher. Attached to the board docs is our June monthly financial report and our ESSER 3. This represents the last month of our fiscal year as we successfully closed the fiscal year on June 28th. Shelley, could you pull up the other one, please? Operating. I wanted to show you this. So this is a summary of our operating fund balances for fiscal year '24. We started the year when we approved the budget in August slightly with expenditures exceeding revenue by $100,000. As the year progressed, revenues exceeded budget by $6.7 million. The majority of that was in interest income at $2.6 million. As you know, interest rates have stayed at 5%. If we had a crystal ball and we could have predicted that, we would have budgeted a little bit better, but we'll take it. So interest was $2.6 million. over budget, so we ended up getting about $4.3 million. And then general state aid, along with the LOB, we generated an additional $3.4 million, and that was all in at-risk waiting. Our free lunch count exceeded what we expected. And then on the expenditure side, about $4.8 million fell out on the expenditure side. Close to 8.8 million of that was due to vacancies. So as you know, we've been trending with a lot of vacancies since the pandemic. And to help that issue, we've contracted services out. So on that supplies and services line that you see up there, we were over budget by $3.6 million. That's all that contracted services. So we freeze the vacancy position, and then we use that budget to contracted services to have a net zero impact on the budget. Transportation saw some savings of $1.2 million. Utilities, we had a good winter, $1.1 million in savings. And then with all that additional savings, you've heard me speak at the workshops about the instructional resource refresh cycle, how expensive that is down the road. We decided to do an additional $3 million in transfer over to the instructional resource fund. That'll help pay for that refresh cycle 5 to 7 years down the road. So overall, we ended up revenues exceeding expenditures by $11.3 million, ending balance of $41.6 million in our operating funds. That is 17.1% of our expenditures. Board policy DBB does speak to a target of 10 to 15%, so we did exceed that at 17.1%. So that's our operating funds. I'll move on to ESSER 3. Just wanted to give you a quick update on that. ESSER 3, as you remember, we have to obligate all funds by September 30 and liquidate it by December 31st. As of July 1st, we had approximately $5 million left to spend. We have earmarked $4.8 million of that for the last retention payment that will be scheduled to pay out on September 20th. We estimate that will cost about $4.8 million, and then we'll get rid of the $200,000 on our ESSER teams are using that, and we'll use that for substitute costs. So we should have that all spent by September 30th for our ESSER 3 funds. Item 2.04 is the student activity report. 2.05 is petty cash. Those are semi-annual reports that we bring to the board in January and July. The student activity report, it captures all the school building funds. So it's the gate receipts from athletics and performing arts and the student clubs. All that money stays at the building under their discretion to spend. Petty cash is used very little these days since we have purchasing card. The last report is 2.06 is the unencumbered cash balance. Thank you, Shelley. So this shows the balances as of July 1st, the start of the new school year. I won't go through all of them, but I'll just mention a few of the larger ones. The first one is general fund. It is $0, which is what our target is, so most school districts like to zero that out. If you're zeroing that out, then you're maximizing your state aid from the state. So that's a good balance. Your supplemental general fund balance of $5,044,000, that just rolls to the new year and is considered as revenue, and that helps offset the amount of revenue that you have to collect in your future years. So you can't spend that money, it just rolls in and is considered revenue. The capital outlay fund of $26.4 million, it grew $9 million this year as the priority has been spending the bond funds on capital projects. As bond projects wind down, capital outlay funds will be needed to fund the district cycle projects such as HVAC, paving, roofs, lighting, elementary furniture, and other cycle projects. These funds, with the potential future bond, which was identified in the strategic plan, will be used to provide the resources to implement Strategy 6. We will strategically focus resources to support state-of-the-art facilities to accomplish our beliefs, mission, and objectives. The Special Education Fund is another one I wanted to highlight. This is the fund where we keep our operating fund balances in the Special Education Fund, and I talked to you just about that, how we ended the year at about $41.6 million. The textbook and student material revolving balance of $12.4 million, that's where our instructional resource fund is, where I said we transfer our $3 million to. So that will be used over time in the next 5 to 7 years to pay for those resource cycles. So that concludes those reports. Be happy to answer any questions you might have.
All right, did you want any comments before I take questions?
Yeah, just thanks, Russ. We worked together on some of those details, and I think you did a nice job of explaining where we're at on those unencumbered balances. And yeah, we'll stand for any questions that you may have.
Okay, anybody questions? Ms. Ousley?
This is for other folks who may not know it, but can you explain why we hold the funds in the special education budget and that it's not just like they're sitting and hanging out there, but that they end up paying for special education, but that's where we're holding them? Because I don't know that everyone understands that process.
Yes. So you don't want to hold, well, historically, that was the only fund that you could roll funds over from year to year. The other ones had to zero out. And so we always chose to do it in special education. We build our system around that. It's more efficient for us. So you can keep it in the other funds, but then you're managing like 5 or 6 funds of rolling that balance over. You have to transfer state aid from the general fund to all those other individual funds like at-risk and bilingual and special education, and it's just more efficient to keep it in one fund. It's more transparent in my mind, and it's easier to explain to your public that this is our fund balance and we keep it in the special education fund.
Thank you.
Can I add to that, just to check understanding in that 110 million is a static number that has a lot of allocated uses as you identified. So it might be a point in time that that's what the fund reflects, those unencumbered cash balances. But as you just said, the dollars in the special education line will go to pay for staffing, and the dollars in the capital outlay will go for cycle projects. And the dollars in the textbook might be tucked aside for expenses that you've shared with us that are going to rise and continue over the next couple of years. So point in time dollars, but most of those have targeted uses for those dollars.
Yeah, that is correct.
In the near future or the couple of years from now.
Yeah. Other than the ones I mentioned, the remaining ones are all restricted for that particular purpose. You can't use it for operating expenditures.
Okay.
And some of them are larger at June 30th because our tax dollars come in January and May. And so you're holding those tax dollars through the summertime before the school year starts, and you'll start spending it in August, September, October.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? All right, thank you very much. So does that bring us to the discussion item? You've really did kind of items, I'm sorry, put my microphone back on. So you've really gone through items 2.3 all the way through 2.6?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So that brings us to item 3.1, the program update on substitute services.
Great. So I'm going to throw this to Dr. Higgins and let him introduce his team. I know they have a robust report to share with us tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Schumacher. As is customary this time of year, our HR team provides an update, kind of an end-of-year update on substitute services, as well as a look forward to the upcoming school year. There is, for your consideration, an action item that is subrates for the 24-25 school year, as well for your consideration later in the meeting tonight. At this point, though, I am going to kick it over to Dr. Chris Case, Director of Secondary Human Resources, to lead our presentation, along with Sari Kratzkamp, who is our Client Services Manager with Kelly Education. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to present this evening. The presentation and information that we're sharing tonight will be focusing around the HR department goal number 1, which focuses on surrounding each student with the best teachers, administrators, and support staff possible, along with strategic plan strategies 1 and 3. An aspect of fulfilling our goal requires us to recognize that as amazing as our faculty and staff are, they do come up with illnesses and need some time off for personal lives outside of school that periodically prevent them from being in their buildings. Substitute teachers fill a critical role within our district, allowing buildings to continue to function at a high level, even when our certified staff needs to be out. With these staff playing such a key role in our district, we appreciate the opportunity to share some data related to these important colleagues. So let's begin by talking about the partnership that we have with Kelly Education. With us this evening is Sari Kreutzkamp, the Shawnee Mission School District account manager. SMSD and Kelly Education have had a partnership since 2017. Within that partnership, Kelly Education handles all aspects of our substitute teacher program. They are responsible for recruiting, hiring, and onboarding our substitute teachers. They handle daily fulfillment of sub jobs. They are responsible for payment of those subs and for offering any incentive programs. Our subs are employees of Kelly Education. Obviously, there's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes that we often don't see or have to manage. Kelly provides daily and long-term subs for our classroom teachers, our librarians, and our nurses. Additionally, they provide the building subs that are currently in place in all of our buildings. We'll continue to stress the partnership that exists between Shawnee Mission and Kelly Education is one truly of collaboration. During the summer of 2022, Kelly enhanced that partnership by providing Shawnee Mission with a dedicated account manager in Sari, and she has continued to fill that role ever since. I can't tell you how beneficial that position has been. It often allows for conversations to continuously happen between the HR team and Kelly Education on a number of topics related to the services that they provide us, but it also allows for us to be able to have that one person that knows everything that's happening across the district. And having worked with Sari as a building principal and now in that HR role, I can absolutely tell you that she is a vital member of our team. So let's move into looking at some absence-related data from the 23-24 school year and in the recent past to see how we're progressing. This first table shows a historical comparison over the last 6 years. You can see this year our fill rate rose to 96.15%. Last summer during our board presentation, Kelly committed to a 91% fill rate and even wrote into our contract a fill rate guarantee. Kelly and educators throughout the district are happy to report that that threshold was met and even exceeded, and that we are now really, with this year, approaching pre-pandemic fill rates of 97 to 99%. I also want to draw attention to the number of total filled jobs. As you can see, this year, Kelly filled 35,290 sub-jobs for us. That is a significant number of sub-jobs and represents a 5% increase over the 22-23 school year. If you'll go all the way back to the 18-19 school year, you can see that that's a 48% increase in the number of total sub-filled jobs. Obviously, our professional employees have access to temporary leave and personal leave. And they need to take that time and use it as they need. But as an HR department, we're continually looking at those numbers and having conversations about the causes for that increase and ways that we can bring that number back down. Vacant certified teaching positions play heavily into that number, as one long-term sub represents 171 sub vacancies, one for every day of student contact for the year. Another item I wanted to point out from this chart is the number of active substitute teachers. The number of active subs in the sub pool is a fine line to walk, as you don't want to have too many subs in the sub pool that those people that want to work aren't able to find the jobs that they need to be able to continue, but you also don't want to have so few sub jobs that you're not able to fill those vacancies. Sari is going to talk a little bit more later about the sub pool and the ways that Kelly continues to work on finding the right balance between the sub pool and engaging with that subpool. And in this table, you'll see the number and types of absences over the last 2 years. The vacancies of each type are pretty similar year to year. I'll point out the category listed as other. It does incorporate several smaller categories like jury duty, military leave, etc. I'll also point out the total number of absences between the years are identical. We checked and rechecked, and sure enough, the exact same number year to year. During the spring of 2023, the IBB team agreed to increase the buyback rate for accumulated leave days from $50 to $75 in an effort to incentivize staff to avoid using all of their leave, and we did see a decrease in the number of personal and illness days used. On our next slide, you can see the data around building subs. Due to the ending of ESSER funding, we are cutting back to 1 building sub per building for the 24-25 year. I do want to note that there is a great value in having building subs available to buildings, as they do serve a critical role providing that immediate solution for a vacancy that maybe didn't get picked up overnight. We were able to find a way to utilize the operating fund to keep these positions, but only at a rate of 1 per building. This year's data does include 5 emergency subs that pick up those same-day vacancies and 5 special education building subs that support our elementary SLC classrooms. Both of those positions will continue into the 24-25 school year. This table shows the month-by-month comparisons of the fill rates. As you can see, we were consistently high all year, with November being the lowest fill rate of the year. But even that was a strong month compared to last year, when you may recall first semester fill rates were averaging 85%. Absence data by school type reflects comparable fill rates across all levels, with early childhood being a slight outlier. Additionally, in the second table at the bottom there, which lists out the absence data by position title, you can see that SPED teachers and nurses continue to be our most challenging positions to fill, but we've seen tremendous growth in these areas year over year. For special education teachers, the fill rate represents an increase in almost 12 percentage points, and for nurses, a 41 percentage point increase. And this slide provides us with additional data related to absences by day of week. You can see that Fridays are still the toughest day in our sub pool, resulting in the lowest fill of the week. There were some concerns going into the 23-24 school year that might be a challenge. While 93.6% fill rate is lower than the other days, removing that Friday incentive pay that we had in place last school year, we still ended up with that 93.6%, whereas in 23-24 second semester, when that incentive was in place, we had a 92% fill rate as a point of comparison. And now I will turn it over to Sarah Kreutzkamp, who will talk about initiatives around engagement and subs and recruitment.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me present tonight. Okay, so last year we started the school year with around 437 substitute teachers. Throughout the course of the school year, Kelly Education Recruiting and Onboarding team worked to recruit and hire 157 additional substitute teachers and nurses for the 23-24 school year. They conducted 571 interviews, determined eligibility for 235 of those, and 157 were hired. We ended the school year with 602 subs, which is a net increase of 51 over the prior school year. All of our substitute staff qualify for vision, dental, health, and life benefits. They also qualify for a number of corporate discounts, from shopping discounts, travel discounts, to discounted rates on their cell phone bills. All talent have access to our Kelly Learning Center, where there are a number of educational modules, ranging from classroom management, special education, lesson planning, and whatnot to educate them to improve their job performance. We also partner with a number of colleges and trade centers where our talent can further their education at a discounted rate. This year, Kelly Education is providing in-person professional development training to cover classroom management, subfolders, Kelly Education policies, safety policies, amongst various other topics, to make the 24-25 school year as successful as possible for our substitute staff and all of the Shawnee Mission buildings. Looking ahead to the 24-25 school year, I'd like to continue to grow our subpool to get back to the 650-750 range. I know that that's more than what it was when we first started back in 2017, 2018, but as you can see, the numbers have increased, and we just need more staff every year. And each summer, we always lose a bunch of subs to full-time teaching positions, other full-time jobs, as well as moves So we're always trying to replenish and build to that sub pool. But we have offered a 92% fill rate guarantee, and so I've got to get my sub pool up in order to meet that and hopefully exceed that again for the next year. As Dr. Case has mentioned, there is a fine line to having too many substitute teachers and nurses versus the right amount. If you have too many substitutes in your sub pool, there'll not be enough work for them on a daily basis, and they will start to go to other districts to work. But it is nice to have that higher number for when we've got those really high absence days. Fridays at the end of the school year tend to run pretty high, and so we want to make sure we have enough staff to be able to accommodate those days. So I'm continually looking at the numbers. I'm communicating with our recruiting and onboarding team to make sure we hire enough people to start the school year. It's vital that we have an acceptable amount of subs to start the year while we continue to build our sub pool. The Kelly Education Recruiting and Onboarding Team attend a number of events throughout the year to get our presence out there and our needs known. We will have recruiting tables at all the schools for their back-to-school nights. Their building subs will be there to answer any questions regards to becoming a sub in Shawnee Mission. I've hosted 2 recruiting events throughout the school year that were successful in hiring a number of substitute staff. I will be distributing a number of flyers around the Shawnee Mission community. I've already done that throughout the year, but I continually try to replenish boards within the libraries, Lenexa Community Center and whatnot, just to kind of keep the word out there like, hey, Shawnee Mission, we need some additional subs. I will also be distributing yard signs to each school as well as some window clings. They do have a QR code on them. So when people enter any of the school buildings, they can just scan that QR code and fill out a sub-interest form. And that gets that process started for them a lot quicker than having to go home and remember to log into a website or try to find us online. Kelly Education Recruiting and Onboarding Team also hosts a virtual Wednesday and a walk-in Wednesday each month as well. And this is all on top of all the different job sites, social media sites, and internet job search engines that we post jobs on. Moving forward to our staff, this year we really focused on giving thanks to our sub pool by providing them with goodie bags filled with snacks, coffee pods, drinks, and miscellaneous other items like pens, hand sanitizer, chapstick, just various items they may need in the classroom that they just don't have readily accessible to them. On November 17th, I set up a table with goodie bags and snacks at Oak Park Carpenter Elementary School for Substitute Appreciation Day. They had a total of 11 substitute teachers that day, and they had a 100% fill rate. The day after the Super Bowl, we held a drawing for any sub working to receive a Chiefs soft side cooler. Winner was Doug Fott. He regularly works at Arrowhead Day School, so that was fun to meet him. During the months of March, April, and May, I made 185 sub appreciation bags, and I delivered them to 15 schools to hand out to their substitute staff that was working for them. I chose schools that range from most absences, highest fill rate, lowest fill rate, and a few in between. And then I watched those numbers each week to see which one of those schools had the highest substitute teachers working on any given day. And that's the day that I dropped off those bags. I wanted to try to reach as many substitute teachers as I could. Just because they work a lot and they're keeping our Shawnee Mission's fill rate at a higher rate. And so I want to make sure that they are thanked for all of their hard work. A few schools even allowed me to hand deliver those bags while they were on assignment. So that was fun to go into the classroom, surprise them, and get to know and meet them in person and just kind of see them in their element. Finally, I asked for an additional incentive for 4 high absence Fridays to try to incentivize as many subs as I could to work for those dates. So those dates were April 19th, 26th, May 3rd, and May 10th. We gave away a $25 Amazon gift card to 1 sub for each Friday worked, and winners were Alexander Mobley, Stephanie Brucker, Betsy Morrill, and Leanne Farks. Okay. All right, so moving into the 24-25 school year, we plan to, Kelly Education has increased the size of all of their teams because our company is continually growing. And we will continue to add to our fulfillment staff as we start to see higher hold times and increased call volumes. Over the last couple of years, new leadership took over the recruiting and onboarding team. They're really focused on increasing our advertising within our local markets. We attended quite a few more events this year over the last, as well as invested in bus advertisements across the cities. Kelly Education has expanded their benefit offering for all talent. As mentioned previously, we've given subs the opportunity to add on health benefits and reduce tuition costs for those interested in continuing in their education. As we move into the 24-25 school year, we want to continue to improve the sub-fill rate. Kelly Education plans to continue to invest in the fulfillment team, and they continue to recruit in a variety of ways, and we will look at their benefit offerings to make sure substitute teaching is more enticing.
From a district perspective, we are recommending no changes to Exhibit A, which, as Dr. Higgins mentioned, will be an action item for you later this evening. We are recommending continuing the increased pay rate for nurse subs, as well as the increased pay for special education teacher pay rates. Additionally, we recommend the continuation of increased number of building subs to help support our special education programs across the district and the emergency building subs. With that said, let's take a look at the rates renewal. This slide shows the Exhibit A that I was referencing that was in place at the end of school year last year with no recommended changes for the upcoming year. The complete Exhibit A is available to you and will be that action item later in the evening. And finally, Kelly is confident in their ability again to increase fill rates as we move into next year, and once again built into the contract for next year a fill rate guarantee. The details of that fill rate guarantee are summarized here. Kelly is guaranteeing that 92% fill rate for first semester. If we don't hit that fill rate, then they will decrease the markup for the second semester to 1.274. There are some qualifiers that go along with this guarantee related to the same day, next day absences and total absences, both of which the Human Resources Department feels comfortable with. Again, later in the evening, you'll have the opportunity to take action on the recommended sub rates for the 24-25 school year. And at this time, Kelly Education, Sari, and I will stand for any questions you may have.
All right. Dr. Case and Ms. Kruskamp, thank you so much for that. The attention to detail in that report was very informative, as well as I really appreciate the attention to detail that you focus on the individuals and the subs and kind of the personalized attention and trying to really keep our subs engaged, and appreciate that. Do we have any questions? Yes, Mr. Oh. Yeah, we'll go with Ms. Borgman. And we'll do Ms. Borgman and then, yep.
Great presentation. Thank you so much. Nice to see you again, Ms. Kruskamp. So several questions, actually. I'll start with, how is our fill rate compared to those, or compared to other districts in Johnson County? Do you know? Are we?
I honestly, that's a great question. I really don't know. We talk a little bit, but a lot of the other districts are kind of more vague. They don't always give up that information, at least not to me.
Okay.
I think Olathe is pretty close. Blue Valley, we've never really met with anybody. They've had some turnover in their department, so I think they've got somebody new in there now. Kansas City, Kansas Public Schools, I believe, went to a new service. So I don't know. I don't know all of that.
Yeah, that's okay. So why do you, or how do you attribute this increase for this year-over-year growth that we've seen, the 5%?
Great question. Honestly, I attribute a lot of it to communication. I really communicate to the subpool, let them know the needs of all the different buildings. If I watch ahead, and as I see numbers, if I start to see a higher absence day that's already starting to trend high, I will send that communication out to the subpool to let them know that I need additional substitute teachers that are, going to work. There are days that there's professional development, so the district's usually pretty good about giving me that information. So if I already know in advance certain dates that there might be 50 to 80 teachers out, I will communicate that to them as well. So a lot of them already have those dates on their radar, and so they're really pretty good about picking that up. I also work really hard on same-day absences. Those are traditionally just the hardest to fill, just because when the subs wake up in the morning and they've kind of already got their day planned as a day off. So I've really communicated that with them that we average, 30 to sometimes 60 absences that come in 24 hours up to the start of the business day. So that's really gets more into like when it's sick season and whatnot. But if they're aware of that, I let them know like, hey, if you're not seeing anything that you really want to work, wait until 6:30 in the morning, and there's probably going to be 20 jobs out there that might be available for you once we get into the busier season when they really start to come in.
Well, thank you for that strategic planning and thinking, and I also want to thank you. I think some people probably view you as an extension of Shawnee Mission, even though you're technically employed by Kelly. And so all of these extra things that you do, these, appreciation bags, the gift cards, those personal touches are just, thank you very much. I know those go a long way, and I just think it's exceptional. So thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Garcia.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So I am a Kelly Services alum. Go Subs. Right after undergrad, I subbed in Shawnee Mission. It was a really great experience, and I know for a lot of folks, it's a great income. I remember hearing that from everybody. I think that's great. Back then, I guess this was pre-pandemic, but my understanding, and I know it sounds like it's different now, is that any sub could be a part of Kelly Services and have the opportunity to sub in different districts as long as they were under Kelly Services. Am I correct on that?
Yes and no. So they have to be a district that we service. So
Yes,
in
yeah.
Kansas City, Shawnee Mission's our only Kansas district that we service, the rest of them Missouri. So for like Shawnee Mission subs, they would also have to be licensed in Missouri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. That actually checks out, because I couldn't remember if, Blue Valley, Olathe, KCK were a part of Kelly back then, but I can't recall. So I guess I can forego my next question, which was about recruiting in Shawnee Mission, or recruiting for Shawnee Mission subs, but as your only Kansas school district, this sounds great. So, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else? All right. Thank you both so much. Oh, appreciate it. Oh, I didn't. Did you have anything? I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay. All right. We have a number of consent items, item 4.1 through 6.1. And if there is no call to remove a consent item, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Elsley?
All right, second? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, we have 10 action items, and we will start down the list. So our first action item, 7.1, authorization of increased annual expenditure with KC Fire for fire system inspection services.
Yeah, so I recommend an increased annual payment authorization with vendor KC Fire for fire system testing and inspection services at an annual cost of $550,726.72, with final costs contingent upon the number of district fire systems and the mandated fire code inspection frequency. This expense would be funded with capital outlay funds. The fire system inspection service components provided by KC Fire include fire alarms, fire sprinkler systems, fire hydrants, backflow devices, hood suppression systems, and fire extinguishers. This is a significant increase from last year due to the State of Kansas Fire Marshal's Office recently notifying the district of changes to the fire code that will require more frequent inspections of various fire systems.
All right, so do I have a first motion to approve? All right, second? Second, Garcia. Okay, any questions or?
Can we just?
Yep.
Can we just level set really quick? I just think it's worth reminding people how something gets from like consent to action, that threshold of, is it 200,000?
250,000.
250,000.
Yeah,
Do you
so-
want to explain that?
Yeah, so anything by board policy, anything below 250,000, we would put on consent for your consideration. Anything above that goes immediately to action. So, yeah, that's the board policy.
Thank you.
And in general consent, that is different
Yes,
from
thank you.
bond, yep. Yep, okay. And so that, And, all right, so that increase was associated with a regulatory change or something along those lines?
Yeah, so I'll let Dr. Stubblefield give a little more details, but specifically, well, I'll let you do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so typically, we would get that service from them once a year in all of our sites. With the state mandate, we have to service every site that we have a JCPRD or a YMCA care for students. We have to service those sites 4 times a year. So now we're increasing that original number literally by 4.
Okay. So this isn't, keeps us in compliance, but that might be something worth trying to better understand what that change is about. And
Yeah, it's something that we didn't have any control over.
Right, okay.
It was state regulated, so we have to, to be in compliance, we have to abide by that.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, thank you. Item 7.2, approval of contractor for 2024 Shawnee Mission South exterior improvements.
Yeah, so I recommend for approval of Combs Construction as a qualified low bidder for the 2024 Shawnee Mission South exterior improvements. Bids were publicly opened on June 11th, 2024. The total cost is $390,978, which includes a 7% contingency for unforeseen circumstances and/or additional work. This purchase reflects terms, conditions, and pricing which satisfies the bidding requirements allowed by the state of Kansas. This is a capital-funded expense and aligns with the Shawnee Mission School District Strategic Plan Goal 5.11.
Okay, thank you. So motion to approve?
So moved, Owsley.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Boyden Rona.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, the next couple of action items are in partial in relation to providing and meeting requirement, or meeting needs of our special education students.
That's correct.
Okay.
And you approved some of these already in consent. These rose above that before mentioned $250,000, and so that's now why we find them in action. So next few are pretty similar, but we'll go one at a time.
Okay.
I recommend approval of contract with ProCare Therapy for provision of supplemental school staffing on an as-needed basis for the 24-25 school year, including the extended school year program. Based on projected need for extended staff absences and vacancies, payment for certified and related services is estimated not to exceed $320,000. This will be paid from special education operating funds.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Owsley.
Second? Thank you. All in favor, oh, any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, our next item 7.4, approval of contracts with the Stepping Stones Group for staffing services.
Yep. I recommend approval of contract with the Stepping Stones Group LLC for provision of classified supplemental school staffing on an as-needed basis for the 24-25 school year, including the extended school year program. Based on projected need for filling staff absences and vacancies, payment for certified and classified services is estimated to not exceed $255,000. This will be paid from special education operating funds.
All right, motion to approve?
So moved, Owsley.
Thank you. Any questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, next, 7 point, you want to keep going?
7.05?
Yep.
Yeah, sure. I recommend approval of contracts with Summit Achievement Center to provide educational programs and related services and transportation for 5 students from July 1, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, regular and extended school year for a total amount of $690,000. This will be paid for with operating funds special education.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Garcia.
All right. Any questions? Yes, Ms. Borgman?
So this is for SPED, correct?
Correct?
So can you talk just real briefly about the need for special education to be fully funded by the state because of costs like these for 5 students?
Sure, yeah, I mean, I think you just said it. I mean,
I mean,
I mean, not,
Correct.
yeah, 100%. And yeah, I mean, we have these extenuating circumstances, these really high-need students who have costs associated with them. And while we appreciate what the state did for us this past legislative session, there's still ground to make up. Sherry is here. If you want to speak to Sherry, there are going to be circumstances in which we need a contract with agencies like this for specific student needs that we just can't take care of ourselves. Is that correct?
That's correct. So we, again, it's a small amount of students. However, those costs associated, it's very high. And we have an obligation, and we'll continue to fulfill those obligations to ensure student services are met as determined necessary. We do attempt to provide as many services as possible, but again, as Dr. Schumacher had indicated, there are moments in time that we find ourselves where we need to partner with some local private agencies to ensure that those needs can be met.
All right, thank you. Thanks. All right, so I think we're at a vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, our next item, 7.6, approval of contract with supplemental health care for staffing services.
Yeah, I recommend approval of contract with the supplemental health care for provision of supplemental school staffing on an as-needed basis for the 24-25 school year, including extended school year, based on projected need for extended staff absences and vacancies. Payment for certified and related services is estimated to not exceed $725,000. This will be paid from special education operating funds.
All right, do I have a motion to approve? Thank you. Second?
Second.
Okay, any questions?
I just wanted to say really quick, that was a great presentation, and it's nice to see such year-over-year growth with our sub rates getting filled. And I think that the work that Kelly Services done has been really great for Shawnee Mission, and I look forward to the nursing, our nursing rate getting higher, as well as SPED with some additional funds. And I think if anybody can do it, it's definitely Ms. Kruskamp. So really look forward to seeing how things improve this year.
Yeah.
All right, anything else? All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Yeah, okay. All right, next, item 7.7, we're shifting gears here a little bit for approval of our substitute pay rates for the 2024-25 school year.
Yeah, so great lead-in from Ms. Borgman.
Sorry.
Appreciate that. No, that's good. Yeah, I recommend approval of the contract with Kelly Education and the proposed substitute pay rates for the 24-25 school year. Substitute costs will be paid from operating funds. I would also note that there is no change, as Dr. Higgins and his team mentioned, to either the pay rate to our substitutes or the markup to Kelly from last year. I would also add that our HR team yearly assesses our daily rates for subs to ensure we're being competitive, and their analysis is that we are at this time.
All right. Okay, do I have a motion to approve?
So move Borgman.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Boyden Rona.
Okay, any other questions?
Sorry, I was looking at the wrong line.
No, you're,
For
we were with you.
7.06.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. All right, 3 more to go here. We have 7.8, approval to publish notice of budget and the revenue neutral rate hearing.
Okay, so Mr. Knapp is going to help me with this one. I'll read the action first and then throw it to Russ. I recommend approval to publish a notice of hearing for the 24-25 budget and a notice of hearing to exceed the revenue neutral tax rate for the 24-25 school year. As you can see, there are multiple attachments related to this action item that include a presentation, which we pulled up. At this time, Russ, give you the floor, and we'll take any questions after he's finished.
You bet. Thank you. You can go. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So to refresh your memory, at the June 24th board meeting, the board approved the district to exceed the revenue neutral rate. And so that is due to the county by July 20th. We submitted that to the county on July 18th. And so tonight, the next action item for the board to take is the approval of the notice of hearings for our budget and the notice of hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate. So that's what's attached to the board docs. Those hearings will be held prior to the regular board meeting on August 26th at 6 p.m. So the public can come speak at those 2 hearings to those items. And so on August 26th, there would be an action item to adopt the budget for your consideration. So at the May 13th budget workshop, I presented to you that revenue exceeded expenditures by $15.3 million. And since that time, we have approved pay raises for all pay groups, and we have implemented those into the budget of $15.3 million. Since May 13th, there's been some additional revenue that happened in June. Special education teacher pairs and transportation is on a reimbursement basis, so there's tweaks to our teachers and pairs, so that generated an additional $255,000 in revenue. But a significant one was the cost of living percent. The state gave us a rate usually around March. In the middle of June, about June 20th or so, they notified school districts that are using the COLA weighting that they revised the assessed valuations across the state. Our rate went from what we were budgeting at that time, 6.39 to 6.76. That generated another $1,054,000 in general state aid. And then some other minor tweaks of $84,000. So we ended up, the final proposed budget that is in front of you on August 26th will be revenues exceeding expenditures by $1.4 million. So those are the changes since what we presented to you in May. So you've seen this slide more than once. So anticipated for 24-25, again, the revenues will exceed revenues by 1.4 million, leaving an ending balance of 41.6, or roughly 15.7%. So that's above the target rate. Before we got that additional revenue and we implemented all the raises, we were at 14.9%. So we were in that target rate of 10 to 15%, but that additional COLA that we found out about around June 20th or so pushed us over the 15%. But again, this is just budget amount. Their estimates will be back to you this time next year, and we'll tell you what that looks like. So that's that. And so next, thank you, Shelley. So one of the action items is the notice of hearing. So essentially, you're approving a total budget of $611.9 million. The individual fund expenditures are also, I didn't include all of them, but what you're approving is the maximum amount that we can spend in those funds, not a dollar more. In addition, we'll have a mill levy that we're estimating at 51.316, a slight increase of just slightly less than 0.5 mils. The assessed valuation and mill levies, these are just estimated at these times as the county does not finalize those until October, but they just change very slightly. So this would be the budget that goes into the Kansas City Star this weekend, and this will be what will be presented to you in August. And then the last notice of hearing will be to exceed the revenue neutral rate. The county calculated at 49.035. The budget that we are submitting is 51.316 mill levies. That'll also get published in the newspaper this weekend, and it'll be for your consideration on August 26th. I'll stand for any questions.
All right, so our first order of business here is to approve the published notice of the budget and the published notice of the revenue neutral rate hearings.
So move Westbrook.
Thank you. Second?
Second, Boyd and Rona.
Okay. Any questions or follow-up? I have to ask my annual question. So the revenue neutral rate is lower than the state requirement of 20, so part of the 20 mils, right? So we would need to...
Yeah, so state law says you got, every school district levies 20 mils. That's required by state law. So when your assessed valuation goes up, like our revenue neutral rate for just the 20 mils is like 19.877, so we're going to exceed it.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then could I just ask a high-level question, Dr. Schumacher? So there's a lot of work that goes into try to targeting what our expenses are going to be and how many staff we're going to end up needing and and whatnot. And that level of precision is usually, pretty dang close. But, so when we go over a little bit or under a little bit, what's the process that you as leadership, just kind of high-level process?
Around staffing?
Well, no, just more about like the budget. So if we have, we're in a position where we actually have a little bit more revenue than we anticipated. So as a team, is that something that you take up as a leadership team to think about kind of
Yeah,
budgeting moving forward?
right. So the budgeting process begins,
Yeah, so a good example of that would be for this budget year, 24-25. This is one of the better years that Shawnee Mission has seen in years. So it started with the building needs assessment. And then because we were coming off ESSER and we had those additional funds, we go through our staffing, and we met with the board to see how they felt about continuing those ESSER positions, and we brought them into the operating funds. So that all goes through the budget developmental process. And to your point, since we are over the 15%, we'll go through that same process this year and look at all the needs, the building needs assessment, and what we need for 25, 26.
So no shortage of needs out there.
Oh, no.
yeah.
All right.
And, yes, and so after those building needs assessments this past year, the spend was well over what we actually brought to you, and so we had to make some strategic decisions about thinking long-term, about hopefully being able to provide raises for the next few years for all of our groups, and being strategic about what those reserves look like. We'll do that same thing this year with those building needs assessments.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay, so we need to take action. If there's no other questions, so all in favor on these hearings, publishing the hearings, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you for that. All right, item 7.9, approval of the purchase of legal services for the 2024-25 school year.
Okay, so this is an annual action. I recommend for approval the purchase of legal services from Mix O'Toole LLC, McEnany Van Cleve and Phillips, PA, James W. Tippin and Associates, Smithyman and Zecora Chartered, and Spencer Fain LLP during the 24-25 school year. The rates will be submitted to General Counsel for approval at any time there is a revision of a firm's standard rates. Invoices from all firms will be submitted to the General Counsel and Deputy Superintendent for their final approval of payment.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Elsley.
Second? Oh, thank you. Okay, any questions? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. And then our final action item, 7.10, adoption of school term plan for 2024-25 school year.
Yeah, last one. I recommend adoption of a school term plan of a minimum of 1,116 hours for the 24-25 school year, and request authorization to notify the appropriate state agency of this decision. Each school district in the state of Kansas must decide if they will count hours or days as their school term, and we believe strongly in counting hours rather than days.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved, Elsley.
Second?
Second, Garcia.
Thanks, any questions?
Question, Dr. Schumacher, could you elaborate why we feel strongly about hours versus?
Yeah, it's really about being able to count the full amount of time we actually have the kids. And so if you're counting days and we sent kids home for, I don't know, water main break at a particular school and it was half day, we wouldn't be able to count that full day. If we're counting hours, we can count the hours that were actually there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Any other questions?
Can you restate that number again, please?
1,116 hours.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else? All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, time for board comments. All right. Woo. Any comments? I'm sorry.
Wasn't 20 minutes, Mary.
No, it was not. It was not. Yes, Ms. Borgman.
I just wanted to welcome Dr. Schumacher, Dr. Stubblefield, as well as Miss Lewis and Dr. Higgins. Welcome so much to your Monday nights. We are so happy to have you. Dr. Schumacher, Dr. Stubblefield, love having you up here on the dais with us, and really excited to see your leadership in this district. And We are thrilled to have you, and whatever we can do to help kids and, support academic excellence and the resources that kids need, all in. So,
We're all in.
welcome.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. All right, so we will call this meeting closed, and we will reconvene. Well, we're not closed technically, sorry. We have executive session. So our regular meeting, we've concluded our regular meeting, and we will move into executive session. And so I need a motion to approve executive session for confidential student matters. So I'm going to look to Ms. Boyd-Nerona.
I move that we go into executive session to discuss confidential student matters pursuant to the exception relating to actions adversely or favorably affecting a student under coma, and the board will reconvene in the boardroom at 7:20
Okay.
p.m. All right, I invite Dr. Schumacher, Dr. Stubblefield, Pam Lewis, Rachel England, and Greg Goheen to join us.
Okay, and do I have a second?
Second, Garcia.
All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. And there may be possible action item following executive session.
Yes.
Okay.